Disclaimer: this episode discusses suicidal ideations and extreme content that may be triggering to some. Listener discretion is advised. You're listening to 8158 Stories of Sacrifice, where we honor the bravery of the first responders and the families who stand behind them. Real people, real stories, real heroes. This is 8158.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of 8158 Podcast Stories of Sacrifice. Today's guest, we have Tanya Stamos. She is a daughter of a Vietnam veteran, and she also is, she runs a nonprofit organization called Operation RJS in honor of her father. So let's welcome Tanya to the podcast. How's it going, Tanya?
Good. Thank you for having me. Again, my name is Tanya Stamos. I'm also United Navy disabled veteran, service connected. I was stationed on the Roosevelt and the Eisenhower. Like you said, my dad, Richard James Stamos. He's a Vietnam combat veteran. He passed away, will be 3 years on July 4th, actually, when he passed away of lung cancer, due to his service connection with, being over in Vietnam. But so I wanted to do something. My dad was a VFW post commander for several years in Sacramento, and I used to volunteer a lot with him. So I wanted to do something in memory of him and then serving all of my brothers and sisters. So I started a nonprofit called Operation RJS just last year. We got our 501c3 in September. And then we do free mental health therapy, counseling remote. When I say free, it's like truly free. We've removed every barrier. I worked in mental health predominantly my whole life post-military. And then also being a veteran, I understand the issues with the VA, whether it's short-staffed or a long time wait within community care. So we don't take any insurance. We don't do any type of payment. It's literally free. We show you proof of your service, whether it's a DD-214, and then your ID, and then we connect you. And then we have therapists. We have a major EHR platform that we utilize. And there's no cap. They can use it as long as they want. We also do veteran peer-to-peer. And then we also do critical food assistance. We just got our first grant. So for first ever, not even just of this year, but first ever. So we're so excited from HEB, which is a well-known grocery store in Texas. So I cried yesterday or the day before when I got it. Just so amazing. I put it in like right when we got our 501c3 in September. And then we do critical home repair and then veteran events.
Okay. Can you talk to us and tell us about what it was like growing up with your father and him being in a war and all that stuff?
Yeah, so it was really interesting because my dad, he had drinking problems, and growing up, I just thought he just drank a lot. And, my dad was an amazing man, but he had severe, severe PTSD. And I didn't realize that till getting older. My brothers and I, we talk about it, but I remember specifically there was a time when we lived in Sacramento, and it was kind of about the summertime, and we were all sitting there eating. And all of a sudden, there's a backfire from a car, and then he just jumps down, get down, and he thought that he was getting bombed, and we were just sitting there, and I was probably like 9 years old, and I never forgot that, but yeah, he was a single dad, and he took care of me and my two brothers. Amazing, amazing man, but he dealt with severe PTSD, and I don't even think he realized it until later on in life, and until probably like he was sick. And then we would talk about a lot of things, but yeah, he was an amazing guy. He just suffered a lot quietly. And unfortunately, he didn't have access to care at that time. So he suffered.
Yeah, far often we find that a lot of veterans, especially from the previous wars, there was no real such thing as PTSD. I mean, there was shell shock and, those kinds of traumas, but they didn't really have a good understanding of what that was.
Correct. And my dad, I remember he wouldn't talk about Vietnam a lot. It was just a couple things. Like he just, anytime I would try to talk to him about it, he was very, recluse in that. And he talked about when he came back that he was so ashamed when he came back, and people were spitting at them when they came back from overseas, and he was so ashamed that he threw everything away, all of his uniforms and his medals and everything. He just said that he felt ashamed, but he did his job, and then it took many years, but he rebuilt everything, but and so I think that's why he became a part of the VFW, because he was such a proud American. Everything he said, war was America this, America that, like every picture in him, so, but yeah, he suffered quite a bit, and a lot of his friends that he helped did too.
Yeah. Yeah, and far often we do find that people that have been to wars and suffered any combat injuries like PTSD or traumatic brain injuries often develop mental health issues and drinking and alcohol addiction and stuff like that.
Absolutely, they do, and it all stems back from that because, and I was just talking to, a colleague of mine. I also work at a substance use treatment facility, and so I'm the quality compliance and risk director, and we serve a lot of veterans there, and so, I talk to a lot of the veterans, not as a therapist, I'm not a therapist, but as a peer, veteran peer to peer, and we talk about the triggers, and it's just very interesting when you learn about it and you realize, oh, hey, I'm really not crazy. It's because of this, this, and this, and then you can get, therapy and speak on, and coping skills. I don't believe PTSD ever goes away. I think it's always there. I think, but once you learn how to cope with it, when you get those triggers, it's easier to live with.
Right. Yeah, getting help is definitely essential when you're dealing with traumatic injuries like that.
Absolutely.
Um, can you tell us about your time in the Navy?
Yeah, I can. So I was stationed on the Roosevelt. I went in undesignated, and my brother, he was a machinist mate, and a kind of funny story. He was like, "Don't go in undesignated," and then I did. I got put in the fueling station, so that's what I did. And I was stationed on the Roosevelt, and we went out to sea, and I was on a deployment for 9 months, and that was at the time when we bombed Kosovo. So my whole fleet was over there. And I was in the fueling stations. And so when we were at to war, we would sleep in the fueling stations on topside for we did 12 to 18-hour shifts. So we would sleep in there and get the frozen foods and things of that nature, and then I was inhaling all of those JP5 fumes, and we had a we had a friend, well, I had a shipmate that was out there, and we had the guns that are on the side of the ship, and they were doing drills, and he he got decapitated with the wire, and so I had witnessed that. He was a really good friend of mine. He was 22. He was married. He had just had a brand new baby, and it was just one of those freak accidents. This catwalk, and then there was these ships that were coming towards us, and they were Russian ships. And then, we were told to go to general quarters. They were coming right at us, and we kept doing Morse code, to tell them to go away, and then they weren't. So our whole carrier turned, and then I guess we were gonna attack them, but when we turned, they turned around and went away. And I was just thinking, "Oh my god," I was 19 years old at that time, and I'm thinking, "We're gonna get in this war with with Russia." But I'm like, "You everybody in every branch, whether you're out to sea or whether you're on land, combat, everybody experiences it so different, and suffer different things,
Yeah, we had the opportunity to interview um, a, a veteran from Vietnam, and
Mhm.
he's a good friend of my wife's dad. He's still alive, but he's not doing very well. He got sick from the Agent Orange
Mm-hmm.
because he handled a lot of that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, he got pretty sick.
That happened with my dad, and he ended up getting gout. He ended up, that's where the cancer stemmed from as well, and they piece it together. And he had smoked, but then he had quit previously, maybe 8 years prior. They said the type of cancer that he had gotten, the lung cancer, didn't even result from that. It was from the Agent Orange. It was just so interesting. You know,
Yeah,
m My brother was a machinist mate, and he just developed stage 3 lung cancer, and it was from because he was on the sub in Washington. It was just USS Washington. So, it's just very interesting the issues that arise years later, from being overseas and, um, the pits and everything. That we encounter. It's really sad that he's sick, I'm sorry.
yeah, yeah. It's sad to see that all of our service members are catching illnesses from serving their country.
Well, it is, and what is even worse is the access to care, right? And it's like you have to
Hmm.
prove your life. Like, hey, I mean, I'm 90% service connected, and there's so many things that I'm dealing with, and to me, and it's like, and I prove, and you have the documentation, but it's like it has to be either blood for them to approve these things, and it's like then you fight. They just came out with the PACT Act, right? And so you have all these different issues. And then, so I had to have surgery um, on my sinuses three years ago when my dad was sick. And I didn't know how I had gotten sick. They thought it was cancer, but it was a mass, and it came from overseas when I was in Bahrain. And I'm like, I never knew, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's why it's presumptive now, and I'm like, it amazes me. But yeah, the access to care is insane, and once you get approved through the VA and the community care, there's just months waiting. I was just told my therapist, well, not my therapist, but she volunteers with us, that the waiting time period in New York is 2 years for mental health care for the veterans. And is to me that's disgusting. So, and that's why I started the nonprofit, to give immediate access. I don't want
Okay.
anybody to take their life. I don't want anybody, I want to give them the resources, everything I can to help them. You know, I know for myself, and I'm still going through appeals, and it's been 2, 3 years for one certain condition, and it's horrible. It really, really
Yeah,
is. Our veterans, especially our older veterans, deserve so much more than what they're getting.
definitely, definitely so. Would you like to tell us about your organization and exactly what you guys do, and some ways that you guys try to bring in funding to help with the veterans?
Well, exactly what we do, like specifically for the mental health care, everybody that works with us volunteers, right? So I don't have the grant that I did receive is, like I said, the HEB grocery store, and that's funding our food assistance program specifically for Texas, because that's a Texas store, right? I can't send grocery cards to somebody in California. They can't utilize it, right? So we're working on grants specifically for the mental health, and for funding, it's been out of pocket. I personally pay out of pocket for the EHR platform. And I do that intentionally because I don't want somebody to wait. If they need it, there's, like I said, it's removing all, I don't want any barriers, right? So working on funding, and then we also have a 50 Queen of Hearts 50/50 game that we're doing, trying to raise funding for that, right? So yeah, everything right now is out of pocket until we get grants and so forth, and everybody that works with us volunteers. It's all of our therapists, nobody gets paid. It's straight from the heart serving. And a lot of our team are veterans. So that's a wonderful thing too. Yeah, it's veteran, centered, veteran, led, completely all of that.
So you provide food assistance and mental health
Right.
assistance as well?
Yes. Food assistance, like immediate critical food assistance, not specifically like ongoing monthly. However,
Okay.
it's the case, right? If you're, I helped an 83-year-old combat Vietnam veteran this past year, and we got him. Lowe's had partnered with us, and we got him an AC unit, AC/heating unit, and I provided groceries to him probably about 4 or 5 different occasions because they needed it. They had no income. They're fighting with the VA to get compensated, right? So the
Yeah.
situation that that's a little different, right? And every month that is emergency, So like
Right.
no other assistance, right? So what I did, I got his list because he's an amputee. His wife is disabled also, and I said, "Write your list. I'll go get it for you." And then I went out and drove out there and brought it to him. Every occasion. So every situation is going to be different, you know. But for the majority, it is, it's right there, the need. Like, here you go. I've had several people call me today. I had um, a veteran called me today. Their car, his wife's car had broke down. It's in the shop, and I'm like, can you provide that information for me? And then, due to the weather, I'm gonna get the food delivered there, so like I said, it's a case by case situation, but definitely removing all the barriers. And then it's the same thing as critical food home repair. Whether it's AC or plumbing, you need to provide the information as why you cannot do it. I had somebody ask me to cut down their tree because they didn't like the way it looked when we first started, and I'm like, I'm sorry you don't like it, but that's not critical, and so I'm sorry I can't help you. Uh, but I did give them some resources that could potentially, but it wasn't going to be us, right?
Right.
And do the veteran peer to peer, and that's for anybody in the United States, right? You don't have to be in Texas; you could be anywhere. And then the therapy, and we're always recruiting therapists in every other state to help, because as soon as we get those therapists, we can add on those veterans, right? Our goal is to provide services to all states for all veterans. That's my,
Right.
you know. And it's really cool the way we do it, the way I've set it up. So, say for example, you wanted, counseling, I would ask you your availability for the next week or two, and then I get therapist availability once, we get all your documentation and, your assessments and set you up. And then you can utilize this as many times. So it's a pretty amazing thing. I don't know of anybody, and I've researched too to see the different organizations. I haven't found one that does it like us, and I'm like, it's pretty cool, you know. And
Mhm.
so because we are so new, we're just trying to get our name out there so more veterans sign up and more people volunteer as well, especially therapists, you know. And then funding. We want funding.
Yeah, that's essential to
that
running
that
a
is
nonprofit.
very essential, right? And I'm just so blessed with all the people that are volunteering already, and the veterans that we've already served and continue to serve. It excites me every time I get an email. I'm like, oh, thank God, there's one more person that we can help.
Mhm.
It's never like, oh my God, somebody emailed me. Like I just get excited.
That's pretty awesome. So you are based out of Texas,
Yeah,
obviously.
the
Okay.
Woodlands, Texas. Yeah, so it's nice out here. I'm from California, moved here be 4 years in March. Completely different, a whole new li it's a whole different life, but I love it. Had to get a little used to it. It's funny when we moved out here, everybody's like, "Oh, you're from California." I'm like "It's fine." But I love Texas. I love the people out here. Both my kids are out here now, and, we all have our license switched over, and my son said, "I guess we're real Texans now." And I'm like, "I guess so. It's just Texas." But yeah, I
Right.
like it. Nice. There's a wonderful, there's veteran community everywhere. It's very, very, it's great. I love it. Yeah.
have you tried any other ways to draw in any kind of funding, like try to do events other than the giveaway that you're trying to do to
Actually,
draw in money?
so we are actually are going to be doing this year in the next couple of months, but we did some veteran events last year, and that wasn't to raise money specifically. Top Golf hosted us for a veterans event um, during Veterans Day. We did it that week, that Friday. So we hosted about 30 individuals, 30 veterans. And then we did a Christmas event for veterans where we raised money and then made Christmas dinner baskets. So that was amazing. So this year, my team and I were working on creating an event in May specifically for fundraising. And then actually, we're going to be creating like 2 or 3 events specifically for fundraising. And we're going to be doing one for a shooting contest, like at a gun range. And that we're trying to get 3 beautiful guns of any sort, donated. That'll be, of course, locally here in Texas. We're still planning on it, but the money that raised from that will go to our programs, like all money, specifically the therapy and the critical home repair. And then the event in May, we're going to do silent auctions. I'm trying to get out a couple performers that will be out there and make it a wonderful, wonderful event. I'm looking at having it at a VFW in Tomball. So it's still in the planning stages, but yeah, I think it's going to be pretty great. Yeah.
That is pretty awesome. Now, is there any other way that people can contact you and to maybe donate money to your organization or to your cause or anything like that other than volunteering?
Absolutely. So we have a website and it's operationrjs.org, www.operationrjs.org. And then that website explains the whole, who's on our team, what we do, what services we provide. And then there's a donation page and it's intersected with Stripe. So, I mean, that's the platform. And then they can, put exactly whatever amount that they want, and then they'll get a tax receipt for that. So, I mean, that's incredible too. So that would be any
Right.
donate to us. We would gladly, you know, little or as much. We're happy with just $1. I mean, it goes straight for our programs.
Right. It's kind of like what we do is with the William H. Bill Butler Jr. Foundation is we provide assistance for not only veterans but for first responders
Hmm.
and their families. And we're still fairly new at that too because
Hmm.
my cousin, he was killed in line of duty last year.
Can you start me?
He's a 20-year combat veteran, retired United States National Guard or the Michigan National Guard, United States Army. And he was a 13-year veteran with Hillsdale County Sheriff's Office.
Mm,
And unfortunately, he lost his life backing up other deputies.
I'm so sorry.
Appreciate that. And that's pretty much why we started the podcast and the nonprofit organization. One of the ways that we had tried to bring in money is to do vendor fairs
Hmm.
with first responders
Hmm.
and bring in money like that. So that might be a good idea for you if you can figure out a way to do a vendor fair or something like that and charge a small fee to draw in more people.
Well, yeah, I think that's an idea. That's a really great idea. I'm gonna bring that up to my team. I am I am up for anything. I think it's just thinking outside of the box and then, keeping the drive on it and keep going because it's there. You just can't stop at it. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think that there are tons of nonprofits. Some fail and some succeed, and I think for mine specifically, we've done such an amazing job so far. You know, like I said, we got our 501(c)(3) in September, but from October through December, we served 8 veterans with counseling services with a
that's
need
awesome.
We did 3 veterans for peer to peer, and so altogether last year, when you count up all the programs, we served 77 veterans just from October through December. And when I was pulling the numbers, when I had my first board meeting in January, of course, and I was looking at it, I was just so blown away. And I'm like, oh my gosh, with just the little amount of money that we had, it just went that far.
Hmm.
And so I think that once we get the funding and, you know, it's just going to be even more amazing, more incredible, and, but yeah, I'm sitting down and learning grants, and
Yeah.
so that is tedious, but it's kind of fun at the same time, and I'm like, so hours upon hours every night, I'm searching different grants in Texas and the United States specifically for veterans, and they're out there. I have several that I put in for, but it's just a waiting process. It takes months,
Yeah.
So the one for HEB that I put in, I submitted it September 29th of last year, and I just got it 2 days ago. So, I mean, that tells
That's
you,
awesome.
yeah. So I'm just so tickled over that. I'm like, oh my gosh, so um, yeah, we're just gonna keep hitting it hard every single day, and,
Right.
that's what you do, you just can't give up. There's a purpose for it, Just like for your cousin, you started your nonprofit for your cousin, I started this in memory of my dad, and, as long as you hold that, in your heart and you just keep knowing it's for a purpose, you're not gonna, fail. It's gonna just keep
Yeah.
going. Mhm.
Absolutely. It's the passion and the drive and the desire and the meaning behind it
Absolutely.
is huge.
Absolutely. you know, and it can't fade away. And if it does fade away, then, I if it fades away, I think, well, then maybe you shouldn't be doing that. You know what I mean? Or maybe you started it for the wrong reason, you
Yeah.
know? And it's just like healthcare, you join, yeah, you join, either you get hired and go to school for money or it's for patient care, right? And kind of the same thing. Like, what is the reasoning why you started this? You have to have the intent behind it and as long as that aligns with your mission and your values, then yeah, it's going to succeed. The money will come in to help. We expect it. Like, the other day, I'm like, oh my God, and it's like, to me, it's like, there's a silver lining, and it's like God is speaking to you like, no, I've got you, and
Hmm.
and I felt that, and
Yeah.
I just feel God's presence, my dad's presence this whole time, and it just gets stronger, like I know this is what I should be doing, like, in my life, and, yeah, so I'm not even concerned about the funding, like, I know that it's there, like, it's gonna happen. I'm just so at ease with my nonprofit, and I'm just so blessed that we're able to serve the way that we are, and we just wanna serve more.
That's pretty awesome. I totally agree with you with that because I know that when we started this whole thing, everything just fell together so easy.
Mhm. Yeah.
And it was like, this can't be real. This
Right?
cannot be real.
I
And,
know.
I'm not the kind of person that does podcasts, but
I'm
here
not
I am.
actually on them.
Yeah.
I've never been on a podcast in my life, so when you guys messaged me, I was like, "Sure," and then I told my
Right.
brother podcast, he's like, "Really?" I'm like, but to me, it's exciting because you're getting your organization out there, and that is the main goal of it, right? You want people to
Hmm.
learn about, you know,
Yes.
many people to know about us, to reach out for us, so we can help.
We will return after this quick ad break.
The William H. Bill Butler Jr. Foundation is on a mission to honor first responders and support those who serve. We provide scholarships for families who have lost a hero in the line of duty, offer second chances to juvenile offenders who are working to rebuild their future, and help new recruits pursuing careers as first responders. Through generous donations and the sale of merchandise, we're building a community that uplifts, empowers, and creates lasting impact. You can be a part of this mission as well. Visit 8158podcast.com to donate or shop today. Together, we can support those who serve, honor those we've lost, and give hope to those who need it most. Behind every badge is a story, and behind every story is a sacrifice. This is the 8158 podcast, where we honor the lives and legacies of first responders and their families. If our mission speaks to your heart, if these stories move you like they move us, join us on Patreon. For just $5 a month, you'll get ad-free listening, exclusive merchandise, behind-the-scenes content, and video episodes only available to our patrons. This isn't just a podcast, it's a movement, and you can be a part of it. Support us at patreon.com/8158podcast. Let's continue to share the stories that deserve to be heard.
You know, that's the whole reason why, and that's the whole reason why for your podcast, you know? So I
Yeah.
think, as these types of nonprofits and, are teaming up, then we'll serve everybody,
Right.
and get the help that they need.
Right. And that's one of the reasons why I reached out to you, because I felt like your nonprofit was an amazing thing,
Thank
and
you.
I felt like it needed to be broadcasted.
Well, I
You know,
appreciate it. It
yeah.
means it really does mean a lot. We were in the paper for our first event for Top Golf, so that was pretty exciting. A local paper out here, the Montgomery County News, and so it's just neat just to see things like that for us to be recognized. And to me, it's not about publicity or anything of that nature. It's like I want people, like you said, I want the name out there, and I don't want to serve 5 veterans. I mean, I'm thankful for every veteran that we serve, but I want to serve 500. I want to serve as many as we can, just to keep increasing that. So,
Mhm.
yeah, funding is needed so you can keep doing that, right? I can't
Right.
continue paying out of pocket. the, the more the more therapists I add, the more I pay, right? So,
Right.
so I'm like, hey, pay me, but 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 I'll keep paying as long as I have to until we get the funding. I would never say no. If I had a therapist from any other state that said, "Hey, let me help," absolutely. They never say no. So yes, please. And to me, that's a blessing. That people want to help. And it's really crazy especially when you're around so much good and there's so much bad going on in the world, and you can just focus on the good things, just makes your day better too. And like, there's so people in this world, and it's just so refreshing. And I've had probably like 5 or 6 different people, probably like half of them veterans that want to sign up to help. And I'm like, that's it's so wonderful, so wonderful.
That is pretty awesome. It is amazing. And it's definitely a blessing.
Yes.
And you should still be, keep doing what you're doing.
Oh, absolutely. I believe this is my calling. Yeah, I believe that it's crazy. I'll tell you the story. So, last summer, and, I worked, like I said, I worked in healthcare predominantly my whole life, and I've worked all my, I did CNA work, I did home health, and I worked for a Department of Corrections for 11 years. And then I went to school, and then worked my way up in that, and then got my bachelor's in healthcare and then my MBA a few years ago. And then, so I'm like, I want to do something with military, last year. And I'm like, I feel like there's something missing in my own life. I want to do something that, is in memory of my dad. And I swear it sounds crazy, but I had a dream, right? Like, everybody says I had a dream, but I really did have a dream. And I felt my dad speaking to me that you need to start this nonprofit, right? And never in my life have I would have ever thought about starting a nonprofit, but I hear it to this day, my dad's voice, like, start the nonprofit. And I literally woke up the next day and started writing this stuff out, like what I'm gonna do, and I called my brother, and I said, "Hey, guys, what I'm gonna do." And he's like, "What?"
He's like, what?
Yeah. "No, I'm serious. Like, this is what I wanna do." And he was like, and usually I have crazy funny plans, and I'm like the baby of the family, and my dad was very protective of me, and I do remember that growing up. He was very, very protective of me, and I got away with a lot, and now that he's passed, my oldest brother is kind of like that role, and he didn't say anything. He just said, "How can I help you?" And I'm like, I got somebody on board, and
Yeah,
yeah, I really feel like it's a calling. Like I was meant to do this, and it's yeah. I just feel like God's all over it, and
absolutely.
we're just going to continue serving, and hopefully, people watching this podcast will see that, and whether they want services or they want to donate or anything, to me, every single bit of it's a blessing that we're thankful for.
Right. When God calls you to a plan, you follow through.
Absolutely. Because then, if you don't, to me, it's like there's a trickle effect. And it's just like when you take away somebody's blessing, right? And it's like, if you don't do that, I feel like other things that are going to happen that could potentially hinder someone else, And it's like, why do you want to take away what God wants to bless somebody else with? You know what I mean? And
Right.
yeah, it's a whole effect, but yeah, I would never in my early years, it's like God tells you to do something and then you do the complete opposite and then your life goes sideways.
Right.
That's happened a lot in my life. Learn just to listen, and your life will go so much smoother.
Right. Yeah. Follow the will.
Absolutely. It'll not, right? So that's the difference too.
Yeah. Not your own will, but the will of God.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah. It's amazing. We definitely, I do see in the future, I don't know where in the future, but I think it'd be amazing to have, I look at I'm like, what do I see 10 years from now? Do I just want remote or I really don't want just remote. I want I want not free buildings, but buildings like, where people can go access. Maybe they don't have the internet or I don't know. But I foresee it much larger. Um buildings and remote, eventually.
Okay.
Because I know that people eventually, or I know that people don't just like telehealth, right? They like that person to person. And I remember during COVID, I was accessing VA healthcare and I did a remote session. And that was just very interesting. Yeah, the counselor that I saw, she was probably in her 20s, and we were talking about, PTSD and anxiety, things like that. And this is probably when I stopped using the counseling through the VA. Not that they're bad or anything, but it was just my experience. You
Mhm.
know, he told me, act like you have a leaf in your hand and then and just you're gonna blow all of your worries like it's the leaf and it's gonna float down the river and just blow it away. It's just gonna go away. And I said, really? You just want me to blow it away? Just enjoy. I mean, I don't know if that works for other people, but it didn't work for me.
Yeah.
I don't know, but we really screen our therapists too. I'm not saying that was just the situation that I had, my experience. You know, and it's interesting because when veterans have bad experiences or anybody in general, they tend to steer away from it too, right? We ensure that everybody's trained properly. Everybody has veteran peer to peer training. The therapists are trained in specific, PTSD. I'm not going to get just some therapist I don't want to say off the street, but never had experience with dealing but with veterans, right? You want
Yeah.
specific therapists that know what they're talking about. Not every therapist has worked with veterans, right? So, um, definitely needs a background for that.
Mhm. So you're looking for informed type
Trauma informed.
therapist, trauma informed,
Hmm.
so on and so forth.
Absolutely. I mean, um, yeah, there is and I think that there's a stigma around veterans with mental health, right? Because don't know who I was talking about or who I was talking with, but they were saying, veterans shouldn't do remote, because they have high suicidal ideation or things of that nature, right? And I was having a conversation with somebody, and I'm like, well, you know what? Veterans do. We're going through statistics, high suicide rate, high mental health, high substance abuse. I said, but that's the thing. If they can't get into somewhere, why would we not offer that? Because they're
Hmm.
reaching out for help. I'm going to offer anything that I can to one of my brothers or sisters to give them help at that moment. It doesn't matter, and I said, someone's going to want to take that, because they want
Right.
to somebody. They're not going to sit there if they're reaching out for help and they say, and they're saying that remote telehealth is what I can do for you right now. They're going to grab at it. And so I think that's essential too. So I want to serve every veteran in every state. So I definitely want therapists to come alongside of us. And that's the thing too. Once we get funded within the mental health aspect, then we can start paying. I just don't want people to volunteer forever.
Yeah.
I want to compensate them for their services, and show them how much that we appreciate them, because that's a hard job too. I work alongside therapists every day at my job that I do during the day, and I see all the hard work that they put in, and we definitely want them compensated. So once we do get funding and get grants and so forth, they will be compensated. So it's just a step-by-step process.
Right. That's pretty awesome. Now, do
Yeah.
you guys have any kind of peer support or anything like that? Since you have veterans that are volunteering, do you have any kind of hotline that somebody can call or talk to, or any kind of peer support groups that veterans can turn to if they don't want to seek out a mental health
We do have
provider?
peer-to-peer support, and, so the way that they can call is the number that's on the website
Hmm.
that's on there, right? And then, that actually goes directly to me, right? And so I will take that call every single time. Um, I have 3 specialists, veteran peer-to-peer specialists that help. It doesn't matter any time of day or night, I will always pick up the phone. And then we have, and that's nationwide. It doesn't matter. I put that in there, like you said, in case I don't want a therapist helping. But then I also put it in there because if I can't serve somebody that's living, say, in Wyoming, and they really, really talk to somebody, I have a different program that they can utilize and benefit from, right? So I don't want any gaps, and so that's why I have that instilled in there. But yeah, on the website, there's that phone number and they can call it and I'll directly answer it.
That is pretty awesome. We also have a hotline ourselves. If they just want to call and talk to us, I'll
Absolutely.
listen. It's not my personal number, but it's routed to my phone.
Same as mine. Mine's not one, but it's routed to my phone as well. Yeah, I've learned that really quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we always pick up, and then the email goes straight to my, well, it's my business email, it
Hmm.
doesn't personal one, but yeah, the phone number goes straight to my phone.
That's
Yeah.
pretty awesome. Love
Mhm.
it.
And we also have I've sat and talked we also have social media, we have Facebook,
Hmm.
Operation RJS, I think that's where you reached out on me, and we have the Instagram, and then I run those accounts, so I have several conversations with people over the Messenger, they message me, they wanna sit there and talk, and I talk to them, I give them our business line, and then I'll chat with them, either I'm doing peer support with them, or I get them connected to one of our other veteran peer supports. It's always captured, and I try to respond. It was so funny as somebody reached out. They're like, "I can't believe how quick you responded." I'm not gonna respond 24, 48 hours later. Like, you message me, I'm gonna respond right back to you. Yeah, that's quality of care, right?
Right. Quick.
I used to, give my kids a hard time growing up, like, "Oh, you're always on your phone," and now I'm just like, you know but like I said, it's quality of care, Why create something you're not gonna make yourself available?
Exactly. That's very important. If you say you're going to be there,
Then you
it's
gotta
good
show
for
up,
people to know. Yeah, you have to
right?
be there.
And it's not 50%, it's 100% at all times, and that's how I look at it, and that's what my team does, and so I'm so happy with my team, and that keeps growing, but that's what you have to do. You have to give 100%, like, from morning to night, you know? And yeah,
Definitely love what you're doing. Uh, Definitely hope that things continue to thrive for you guys,
you know,
because what you're doing is an amazing thing. It's an awesome thing that you're doing for veterans. Our veterans definitely need the support that they're not getting through the VA, because we know the VA is kind of broken.
it is.
It is flawed. It is broken, and they're not getting the help that they need.
Absolutely, they're not, and, first of all, thank you so much, and, you're doing a great thing too by your podcast. And it's amazing what you guys are doing, and I'm sure that your cousin sees that and is super proud of you. And, to just know I just wanted to tell you that, but veterans aren't getting the care that they need, and it's very sad. I don't know, I'm sure you heard about the Marines in San Antonio that unfortunately took their lives in front of the hospital out there, the VA hospital, and, it's sad. No veteran should ever get to that point. No veteran should ever have to have pills shoved down them and not get the care that they need, and then be out of it all the time and still feel like they're going crazy. It's a horrible situation, and it definitely needs to be fixed, and I just think that if we all step up or continue to step up, then hopefully we'll get to every veteran one time, and I look at it as though it's one veteran at a time for me that I get to serve, and, I get to continue serving more and more veterans every day, then that's what I care about. I don't care about how much funding we get. I mean, that the more funding we get, of course, helps, but that to me, that's not why I'm in it,
Right.
it's opposite. It's how many veterans can I serve?
Can I
You
help you?
know? How many veterans can I reach? How many veterans can I help with their house or get their groceries delivered to? I mean, it was so great. I talked to somebody like I was talking to today, and their car broke down or what have you, and we're gonna get the groceries delivered to them because he lives 45 minutes from me, and there's ice storm right now, and so I'm like, we just have to make sure that it's safe to get food, and I think about it and I'm like, that was today. I'm like, God, it just makes me so happy. I can't even say how much a blessing it is. I say a lot. We're so blessed, but really it is. I don't have any other word for it to say it than it's just we're blessed to be able to serve, you
Yeah.
know.
It's definitely a blessing to serve. I'm proud of what we're doing and trying to give back and to serve, because our veterans and first responders have done so much for us, and
Mhm.
it's time for us to give back. And obviously, you were in the service, so you know firsthand. Thank you
Yeah.
for your service as well, and your
Thank
father. Uh, it doesn't go unnoticed. My family, we're all in the military. My grandfather was a Marine. He was in World War II.
you.
And my Uncle Frank was in Vietnam. Unfortunately, he passed away from sleep apnea.
Mhm.
He was a truck driver when he came back. And obviously, my cousin and my brother was in the Marines. And my first marriage, my stepson was in the Marines as well. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
my dad was Army, Vietnam. My brother Tony was Navy, and he was a machinist mate, submariner in Bangor, Washington. And then I have cousins that were in the Air Force. I have two cousins now that one's a chief in the Navy. Actually, two of them are both chiefs. One stationed in California, the other one in Norfolk. And then my grandfather was in the Navy. Like we just have a whole it just keeps going. So huge military family and which I like. I love.
Yeah.
I remember I was gonna go when I joined the military. I joined well during high school is when I signed up, and I was gonna go in the Air Force with a friend of mine and on a buddy system, but she graduated a year before I did, so she went in before me, and then I switched over to the Navy because my brother was in the Navy, and but I love it. I loved the Navy. I loved all of it. Um, you know, there's a lot of things I experience that we don't like to talk about, that I just keep quiet to myself, and probably there's a lot, and that I just work through. And I think having it's so interesting because I was thinking about the other day, having a nonprofit to me is therapeutic,
Hmm.
in its own weird way, but it helps me every day. It does. It helps me in my own mind and dealing with all of my issues. Yeah, I just think as long as we keep showing up for everybody, one less veteran will take their life. And hopefully, the more veterans we reach will know that they're valued and seen. They're not forgotten. There's a lot of veterans, especially older veterans, that are like that. They feel forgotten. They have or even have the resources. There's so many. I'm working with an elderly veteran that was in. I think he's 76. He was in Vietnam. He's actually in the Navy, and I just connected with him 2 days ago, and I think he lives about an hour and a half from me. So I'm going to be going out there this week. And all he needs help is in filing his paperwork because he has a lot of cancers that related from the military, and he doesn't know how to do it. And I said, how about I help you online? I said, because it's so much easier if we do it online. So I'm going to drive out there this week and go help him. And not one of the services we provide, but I'm not gonna say no. You need help, like, I'm gonna help you. It I think that's what we should do. We should just continue showing up and being present and not acting like our service members are a burden, right, and
Hmm.
cast because they're not. Every single one of us, regardless of what job we did or whether we're combat or not, we all raised our hands and volunteered and said, yes, I will serve this country. I will give my life, and didn't think twice on that. And I would do it again. And I think that should never go unnoticed. It's sad that you see a lot of veterans, whether they're on the streets and they're homeless and it stems because from mental health. And I believe that it all stems from mental health. And, yeah. That's kinda where I look at it. We have to make sure our veterans are okay. We have to make sure
Absolutely.
shelter and food and get the assistance they need, whether it's substance abuse and things of that nature, you know?
Right. Yeah. They sacrifice so much for us. It's time for us to give back.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And that's what I'm dedicating my life to.
I definitely appreciate you coming on here and telling us about your organization and some of your story. Hopefully things work out even better for you.
Thank you.
And we're hoping that you get the brick and mortar type thing going on to help more veterans because
Yeah,
that's what we want to see. We want to see more veterans getting help.
definitely. That's the goal. That's the goal.
That's
Without
pretty awesome.
they call and then they get it. That is the goal. That's what's happening right now, but we wanna continue it, make it to everybody that calls us.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's so much better to see somebody in person than to be on the other line or through a
I
computer.
agree. I I still feel like I'm on a job interview. I gotta say it's a
Ah,
different
you're good.
experience being on a podcast, right? But I appreciate you inviting me on here. I really do.
You're very welcome. And it's been an honor to be in your presence and to have you on the podcast and to share what you're doing for our veterans because it's very important that they know what's going on and that our veterans are not forgotten, that there
No,
are
they're
people
not.
that love them and care about them, whether we're family or not.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, they're not forgotten. They just need to know that. My nonprofit is gonna make sure they know that, because we will show up every single time.
That's pretty awesome. All right. That's all I have for you for today. I
Okay.
appreciate you coming on and telling us your story. You can go ahead and plug your organization again so everybody knows and give them the details about where they could find you on what social media platforms that you guys use and all that good stuff.
Our website is www.operationrjs.org. That website talks about, or our website talks about all of our programs that we do from the counseling, the peer-to-peer, the critical food, the home repair. The phone number and email address is on there. And so all they have to do is whatever service they need, just email specifically what it is that they're requesting. They have to email their DD 214 or any other type proof of military service, and then a picture ID. And then also we have Facebook, Operation RJS. They can look me up, Tanya Stamos. I post a lot of things all together, so it filters between the two, my name and then Operation RJS. And then we're also on Instagram, Operation RJS, as well as LinkedIn.
Outstanding. Definitely appreciate you having you on here, and hopefully I didn't scare you too much.
No, you didn't. That didn't sound retarded. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah, you're very welcome. All right, Tanya, you have a good night, and God bless you.
God bless you too. Thank you. All right, bye.
Bye. All right, everybody, that was Tanya, and she runs a nonprofit organization that deals with primarily with veterans, and she gives them assistance any way that they can, food assistance, mental health assistance. Like she said, she will go to a veteran's house and help them get assistance through the VA. And I think it's amazing what they're doing. So please, if you can, go to their website, check it out. And if you're a veteran, volunteer. If you're not a veteran, if you could donate or do anything, that would be appreciated. That's all I have for everybody tonight. So God bless you guys. Love you. Keep coming back. Keep listening. And we've got some more people coming. So stay tuned. Love you all.
Thank you for joining us on 8158 Stories of Sacrifice. Every story we share is a tribute to the courage and resilience of first responders and their families. If this episode impacted, encouraged, or inspired you, please subscribe, leave a review, and share with someone who supports first responders. Follow us on all social media platforms at 8158 Podcast for updates. 8158 Stories of Sacrifice is a team effort. Rico brings the stories to life through casting, writing, original music, and editing. Brianne Shipley as production manager, handling booking, social media, graphics, promotion, marketing, website management, and logo design. Please visit our website at 8158podcast.com. For questions, collaborations, or to share your story, our email address is contactus@8158podcast.com. Until next time, let's continue to honor the legacies and remember the sacrifices of those who served, every brave man and woman on the front lines, protecting and defending us all. This is Rico signing off and honoring 8158.